In my previous video, I mentioned how when you're overweight, let's say 400, 500, 600 pounds, the hospital, especially if it's more outdated, might not have an MRI scanner that can actually fit you. So you might have to go to the zoo to get a scan like an MRI or a PET scan. Well, one of the people commented something really interesting about how when some hospitals would do this, there would be rates of staph infections that would go up in that zoo, and it would actually end up hurting the zoo animals. People don't recognize that hospitals are full of infections. I mean, think about it. You're bringing the sickest people in that city that need to be admitted to the hospital. Chances are they're likely sick because they have a very strong strain of bacteria or a virus, etc. So the rates of MRSA or staph infections in hospitals makes sense that it would be higher than it would be in the streets or in the public. Actually, it's not that uncommon for someone that's healthy relatively to go into the hospital and then they get something called a hospital-acquired infection. This is a thing, there's an actual name for it. There's hospital-acquired pneumonia, there's hospital-acquired blood infections, and staph infections as well are something that happen. This is actually a common argument that doctors get into with patients about when the patient is ready to be discharged. The patient might feel like they could benefit from an extra day or two in the hospital, but if the medical team feels that they meet all the milestones that they can go home, then the patient should really go home, again, because we're trying to avoid people getting infections from the hospital. The part that's crazy to me is that we're talking about tigers and lions and elephants and hippos using the same MRI machine and getting sick because some human brought the MRSA infection to the zoo. That becomes an ethical dilemma, because then you start to argue, well, if you have to prioritize life, would you prioritize the life of a human being, or would you prioritize the life of an animal at the zoo? And it's a very weird question to ask out loud. Luckily, it's not happening as much anymore because we are developing MRI technology like open MRI machines that can fit larger people. And it's not even just being developed. It's already in a handful of hospitals. So maybe this won't be as much of an ethical dilemma, but when it used to happen, or I guess might still be currently happening in certain parts of the country, I can only imagine how awkward this conversation is.